Most women I work with do not like older men. Older men aren't attractive. Older men look like grandpa or dad. Older men can't keep up with you. Older men have no energy. Older men have erectile dysfunction. Older men are on their last legs and are looking for a nurse with a purse. I hear you. The problem is that these are stereotypes, and stereotypes are only partially true. On this Love You podcast, I'm going to explain what it looks like to date an older man and why the rewards are often worth it. Stick around. My name is Evan Marquette, dating coach for smart, strong, successful women and your personal trainer for love. Welcome to the Love You podcast. Keep listening to learn whether it's worth your time to date an older man. When we're done, I'll let you know how you could apply to Love You to create a passionate relationship that makes you feel safe, heard, and understood. In a much shared blog post that I wrote in my early 30s, I openly wondered why a younger woman would ever want to date an older man. I basically said, as a representative of my generation, is that if a woman's in her late 20s, she has no incentive whatsoever to go for a man in his 40s. And I meant it. That same attractive 28-year-old woman can find a guy who's 30, 35, 40, before she has to really worry about going for a guy who's much older. So the guy who's 50 and is trying to get a 29-year-old is usually wasting his time because most of those women see those men as old, dad kind of guys. So she doesn't have to consider men a generation older because she's got a ton of options. In that blog post, despite the fact that I came down pretty hard on the side of younger women saying no to much older men, I wrote this in the older guy's defense. Don't get me wrong, there are advantages in a 45-year-old guy. He's probably a man. He's got the job and the home and the car and been divorced with a kid already. So if a woman finds it more appealing to just step into that world, to jump from the prolonged adolescence of your late 20s into full-fledged settled-down womanhood, that could make sense. There are many other things that are attractive about older men. They embody wisdom and stability. They could afford nicer restaurants and vacations and have cultivated greater tastes in the arts. They're more experienced, more chivalrous, and more likely to want to settle down than some 20-something party boy. I am now 48 years old. Started this when I was 31. I am married. I've had 2 kids. I've aged relatively gracefully since I wrote that piece. In other words, I'm finally the age that most of my clients are. In the past, I was younger than most of them. Now I'm kind of right in the sweet spot, right in the middle. And I've had more time to think about age and what it means and what it doesn't mean. So in my opinion, always my opinion, not the full truth to everybody, but in my opinion, there are essentially 2 times that age is really a big deal when it comes to dating. One, and I've mentioned this a bunch, we've had a bunch of podcasts that have been focused on age in a row. It's kind of just a coincidence, so I'm sorry. So one time age really matters is if you're a woman in your late 30s or early 40s who wants her own biological children and you discover that many men don't want to take a chance on you. The other is if you're a man who's more than 5 years older, right? And you discover that many of the women that you covet don't want to take a chance on you. So let's acknowledge the reality of everything that I just said at the top. You don't want to date a man who's on death's bed, who can't go on a vigorous hike, who's too tired to stay up past 9, and has nothing to give, can't get it up, and wants someone to just take care of him. I got it. I'm not telling you should ever want that guy or be with that guy. So the real question is, the hard one I want to pose to you right now, is a different question. It's a more subtle, nuanced question. How old is too old? It's easy to go online and say you're only looking at men 5 years younger to 5 years older. But what about 6 years older, 7 years older, 8 years older? At a certain point, you're going to feel that it's too much and you've pushed it too far. But I want you to encourage this perspective shift. Remember, you're not dating everybody. You're not going out with everybody. You're just looking at people. You're not obliged to do anything. You're not obliged to write to a guy you see online. You're not obliged to meet him in person. You're not obliged to sleep with him or marry him. We're literally just looking through the phone book at guys, and I want to widen your aperture. So let's say that right now you're a woman and your search criteria right? Actually, let's flip it around. Let's do a different perspective. Let's say there's a guy and his search criteria is 35 to 44. Now you fall outside of that. Maybe you're 45. Maybe you're 46. Maybe you're 47. And this guy's not in the market for kids. He's just looking for women 35 to 44. So 46-year-old you knows that you're no different than you were at 44, yet somehow this guy who isn't even trying to have kids won't even give you the time of day. That seems unfair, doesn't it? Seems like if you hypothetically met that same guy in real life and you're both 46, he'd probably be really attracted to you and would have no idea how old you are, right? So if that's the case, if that's correct, and it probably is, doesn't it stand to reason that you should use quality as a metric for men rather than age, right? One amazing, again, hypothetically, 55-year-old guy, if you're a 45-year-old woman, might be better than some douchey 40-year-old guy. Just because the guy's younger doesn't mean he's better or better for you. So this is not to say, when I push back, I tend to push people in both directions. Right? Push you towards what works best. So this is not to say that you can't have a preference for younger men the same way that men have a preference for younger women. It's actually the same way that I'd encourage a guy friend, a guy who's my age, to open up to a 50-year-old woman. That's exactly what I'd do if I were giving advice to men. I'd tell them to be open to you. So I would also encourage you to theoretically open up to a guy who may be more than 5 years older than you. Not all of them, but is it in the realm of possibility? So maybe we're just talking about 5 to 10% of these men who are over 5 years older than you. But I'm telling you, those men will see you as a lot more of a prize and value you more than guys who are a decade younger than you, who you might be more open to meeting because they're cute. Older men are more patient. They have been humbled by life and their own mistakes. They're less likely to be driven by ego, less likely to be driven by sex, less likely to be driven by ambition, and more likely to be appreciative when a woman makes him feel accepted and appreciated and admired. In other words, the qualities that we ascribe to older men are the same qualities that I ascribe to you. If you've improved over the years, wouldn't it make sense that some men will have as well? And that brings us back to the original topic. Is it worth it to date an older man? The answer is maybe. Would you rather continue to be alone and frustrated? Or would you hypothetically rather live happily ever after with a guy who is theoretically 7 years older? Judge men first based on how they communicate online, presumably, by phone, presumably, then on your attraction when you meet in person, and then on their effort to follow through, and then on your feelings about him and your relationship. Because when you fall in love, all these rules go out the window. My rules about age and religion go out the window with my wife, and I predict your rules will go out the window as well when you have a guy who's treating you the way you want to be treated, the way you deserve to be treated for the rest of your life. The metric is his quality and your happiness, not the day he was born, says the guy who married an older woman. My name is Evan Mark Katz. Thank you for tuning into the Love You podcast. For more episodes like this on YouTube, click the subscribe button and ring the bell. Choose all to ensure you get notified when new content comes out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please share an honest review on Apple. More reviews equals more awareness of the Love You podcast and more love in the world. And if you want to find love right now and are committed to making healthier choices with men so you can have that easy relationship that makes you feel safe, heard, and understood, look for the link below and apply for coaching with me inside Love You. Talk to you soon.